Today we are going to discuss about jigs and fixture. So in this lecture we will discuss introduction of jigs and fixture, advantages of using jigs and fixture, and what are the types of jigs and fixture, principle of location, and 3 to 1 principle of location. So now we will discuss jig and fixture. In mass production work holding device and tool guiding devices are very necessary for producing interchangeable parts or repetitive works. So this necessity is fulfilled by using jig and fixtures. So jigs and fixtures are the work holding and tool guiding devices basically used for repetitive work or producing interchangeable parts. Okay, so jig and fixtures are the work holding and tool guiding device which are used for repetitive work. Okay, so now we will discuss what is jig and what is fixture. Jig jig is a device which holds and locates the workpiece and at the same time guides and controls one or more cutting tool. Okay, so jig is a device which holds and locates the workpiece and guides and controls one or more cutting tool. Okay, so jigs are basically used for the operation like drilling, boring, reaming, etc. Okay, so here in this figure we can see the workpiece is supported by the jig. Okay, and at the same time the jig also guiding the drill bit. Okay, so here the workpiece is supported by the jig and the drill bit is guided by the that jig. Okay, so the holding of the work and guiding the holes are such that they are located in two positions relative to each other. Okay, so next is the fixture. Fixture is a device which only holds and locates the workpiece at the time of inspection and some manufacturing operation like turning, milling, grinding, etc. Okay, the fixture does not guide the cutting tool. Okay, so fixture may be defined as a device which only holds and locates the workpiece during an inspection or for a manufacturing operation. Okay, so now we will discuss the basic difference of jigs and fixture. Okay, so as we already discussed, jig is a device which holds and locates the workpiece and at the same time guides and controls one or more cutting tool, whereas fixture only holds and locates the workpiece. Okay, so jig is lighter, whereas fixture is heavier. Okay, so in case of fixture there are some rigid attachments are necessary for supporting the workpiece, but in case of jig there is no attachment are necessary. Okay, so basically jigs are used for the operation like drilling, boring, reaming, etc. Okay, so whereas fixtures are used for the operation like turning, milling, grinding, or some inspection operation. Okay, so now we will discuss what are the elements of jigs and fixture. Okay, so elements of jigs and fixture. Okay, so now we can see this figure there are 5 elements of jigs and fixture. First one is the base, which is a box or plate or frame like structure which is basically used for supporting the workpiece. Okay, in jig and fixture the workpiece is supported by this base. Okay, the second one is the locating element. Okay, so locating elements are used for the location purpose of workpiece. Okay, so next one is the clamping element. The clamping elements are particularly used, different type of clamps are used for clamping the workpiece, okay, for proper positioning. Okay, so rigidly workpiece are fixed by the help of different types of clamps. Okay, so next is the guiding element. Okay, so guiding elements are basically used in case of jig. So guiding elements are used for guiding the cutting tools. Okay, so basically bushers are used for guiding the cutting tools. Okay, so next is the positioning element. So positioning elements are used particularly, positioning elements are the fastening element where the workpiece is properly rigidly fixed in the jig and fixture. Okay, for proper positioning. Okay, so next is the advantages of using jig and fixture. Okay, so advantages of jig and fixture, as we already discussed, the workpiece is located automatically and the cutting tool is guided without any manual adjustment. Okay, so it eliminates the operation like setting, marking, measuring. Okay, so these operations are eliminated. Okay, so it increases the accuracy of the workpiece. Okay, so the next is the it increases also the production efficiency. So the labor time, eliminated. So the labor time also reduces, as well as the there are no skilled labors are required for operating this jig and feature fixer. So it reduces the overall cost of production. Okay, so these are the basic advantages of using jigs and fixture. Okay, so next is the different types of jigs. There are different types of jigs are used for holding the workpiece and guiding one or more cutting tool. Okay, so like template jig, plate jig, box jig, pot jig, channel jig, sandwich jig, inducing jig, multi-station jig, ring jig, diameter jig, lift jig, and angle plate jig. These are the different types of jigs used for holding and locating the workpiece and at the same time guide and control one or more cutting tools. Okay, similarly there are different types of fixtures are used for repetitive works. Okay, like turning fixture, milling fixture, according to different operation, the fixtures are turning fixture, milling fixtures, broaching fixture, grinding fixtures, boring fixture, tapping fixture, duplex fixture, and welding fixtures. Okay, so there are different types of fixtures used for holding and locating the workpiece. Okay, so next is the principle of location, which is very important. Okay, so location means the proper positioning of workpiece in jig and fixture. It establishes the relationship between workpiece and jig or fixture. Okay, so it generally it required for the better accuracy of the workpiece. Okay, so the design of jig and fixture should be such that it restrict all the possible movements in x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Okay, so the design of a jig and fixture should be such that it restricts all the possible movement of the workpiece in x, y, and z axis. Okay, so then what are the degrees of freedom? Okay, in the principle of location, we should know what is the number of degrees of freedom. Okay, so basically, suppose we consider a rectangular plate which can move in x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis linearly. Suppose we consider a rectangular plate which can move in x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis linearly. So there are three movement linearly, or translatory movement is three. At the same time, the workpiece can rotate in x-axis also, okay, y-axis also, and z-axis also. Okay, so the rotational motion of the workpiece is also the rotational motion of workpiece is also. So the total degrees of freedom is 3 translatory motion or linear motion, 3 rotary motion. So the total degrees of freedom is 6 motion. 3 plus 3 6. Here you can see let a rectangular plate can move in x-axis, y-axis and z-axis linear movement. Also the plate can rotate about x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. The total degrees of freedom is 3 plus 3 6. Okay. So our intention is by using jig and fixture we prevent all the 6 possible movement in different direction. Okay. So the main aim of principle of location is the by using jig and fixture we prevent all the 6 possible movement in different direction. Okay. Here the total degrees of freedom is 6, but some authors are considered the total degrees of freedom is 12. Okay. So they consider 6 linear or translatory motion, 6 rotary motion. Okay. So as per their expression, each linear or translatory motion each linear and translatory motion have 2 motion. For example, suppose a rectangular plate can move in x-axis linearly positive and negative to and fro motion. So similarly, in their expression, the total translatory motion is 6. Like in y-axis also, the workpiece can move up and down. Okay. So there are 2 motions. Okay. So in z-axis also there are 2 motion. So in their expression the total translatory motion is 6 motion. Or similarly the rotational motion is also they considered 6. How? Now suppose they considered the rectangular block can also rotate in x-axis clockwise and anti-clockwise. Okay. The rectangular block can also rotate in y-axis clockwise and anti-clockwise. Okay. So similarly the rectangular block can rotate also clockwise and anti-clockwise in z direction also. Okay. By this the total degrees of freedom they consider as 6 linear motion, 6 rotational motion, they considered 12 degrees of freedom. Okay. So 12 motion, but here you considered only 6 degrees of freedom or 6 motion, like 3 linear motion in x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, and 3 rotational motion in x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. Okay. So our intention, okay, so our intention of jig and fixture is to prevent all the 6 possible motion in different direction by using 6 pin or 6 so which is known as 6 pin location or 3-to-1 principle of location. So what is 3-to-1 principle of location? In 3-to-1 principle all the possible movement, 6 possible movement of rectangular block is restricted by using 6 location or 6 pins. Okay. So in 3-to-1 principle all the possible movement of rectangular block is restricted by using 6 locations or 6 pins. Okay. So you can here in 3-to-1 principle of location 3 pins are located at the bottom side of the workpiece. 3 pins are located at the bottom side of the workpiece. Okay, which can restrict 3 pins are located at the bottom side of the workpiece, which can restrict the linear motion. Okay, the linear motion in z axis and rotational motion in x axis and y axis. Okay. So 3 pins or 3 locations are placed in the bottom part of the rectangular block, which can restrict the linear movement in z axis and rotational movement in x axis and y axis. Okay. So next is the 2 pins are located at the back side of the workpiece. 2 pins are located at the back side of the workpiece, which restrict the linear motion in y axis and rotational motion in z axis. Okay. So the 2 pins are located at the back side of the workpiece, which can restrict the linear motion in y axis and rotational motion in z axis. Okay. So now one pin or one pin is located at the side of the workpiece. Okay, one pin is located at the side of the workpiece which restricted the linear movement in x-axis. Okay, by this six pin, by using this six pin, which we can restrict all the possible movement of a rectangular block. Okay, so this is also known as six pin location or 3 to 1 principle of location, which is very important for exam point of view. Okay, so by using this six pin or six location, we can restrict all the possible movement of workpiece in jig and fixture. So this is all about our topic jig and fixture. So this is all about our topic jig and fixture. So thank you so much.